Hello, this is Bill Zoller with the Wellness Warriors Ministry, and today we're going to have a brief videotape about the topic of dairy products. We'll be talking about several key, very important issues like insulin growth factor 1 and some toxins and that type of thing about dairy products. And we thank you so much for being with us today. So to begin with, the first thing I wanted to mention about dairy products is the really very potent, pointed, ongoing, unswerving marketing effort that the dairy industry has. If you remember, some of the advertisements had a young boy without a shirt on and a milk mustache. Another ad had an attractive lady with a milk mustache. And then they had a series of slogans. One of them was, "Milk, it does the body good." Milk, it does the body good. And another one is, "Got milk." And so these went worldwide, and they really reinforced a broadly held belief that dairy products are good for our health. But is it really good for our health? And so we wanted to elaborate on that topic just a bit. So first of all, even milk that's marked organic milk has hormones that are harmful for us. They usually contain high levels of problematic hormones, which are naturally produced by the cows, even if those cows have not been given any additional hormones for purposes of the product labeling. Another very important point is that the principal protein in dairy products is called casein. And we have just real good, solid research now that this protein is very closely linked to the development of cancer, several different cancers actually. Next, I wanted to mention about IGF-1, insulin growth factor 1, a potent hormone that promotes cell growth and division in normal cells and in cancer cells. It is thought to be one of the mechanisms responsible for the association between dairy and cancer. So this IGF-1 appears to be nutritionally regulated, and animal protein consumption, not just from dairy, but other animal-based foods too, leads to higher circulating levels of this cancer-promoting hormone. So those who consume considerable animal foods, and particularly dairy, are at risk for type 1 diabetes and for multiple sclerosis. Dairy is associated with an increased risk of several autoimmune disorders, and these are the types of disorders that may be life-challenging and very difficult to treat, sometimes very difficult to diagnose. The association with type 1 diabetes and multiple sclerosis and the consumption of dairy is particularly concerning. Another a bit of interesting information, even pasteurized milk contains microorganisms. Milk and other dairy products are important ways that foodborne pathogens are transmitted. Even with modern sanitation requirements, including pasteurization, outbreaks still occur, and resulting in sometimes severe medical conditions and even fatal outcomes. Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli are some of the more common foodborne outbreaks associated with dairy consumption. Pesticides are in high concentration in dairy products. Exposure to organochlorine pesticides is a persistent difficulty. The pesticide contamination affects water and agricultural lands generally. Dairy products have a greater capacity to accumulate these pesticides in higher concentrations due in part to their high fat content. Antibiotic residues. The largest use of antibiotics worldwide is for livestock. Much of that use is for non-therapeutic purposes, such as infection prevention and to promote feed efficiency and animal growth. Apart from the dire warnings from scientists that agricultural overuse of antibiotics is leading to antibiotic resistance, many of us have heard about antibiotic resistance. Another problem is that antibiotic residues persist in milk and other dairy products despite protocols aimed to minimize this. It's hard to prevent and control these antibiotic residues because milk from individual cows and farms is usually pooled together, and the administration, handling, and record keeping of animal drug use can vary significantly from one dairy operation to another. I wanted to mention also that dairy products do not appear to be good for our bone health. Consuming dairy products may actually be detrimental to bone health. In fact, there is substantial research now linking higher milk intake with significant increase in risk for bone fractures. The high dairy content, the high calcium content in dairy can cause vitamin D dysregulation and therefore disrupt the stability of bones. High animal protein content of dairy can induce acidosis from its high proportion of sulfur-containing amino acids. This in turn leads to the body compensating by leaching calcium from the bones to help neutralize the increased acidity. Over time, all of this can have a detrimental effect on bone health, bone thinning, osteoporosis, and so on. I wanted to mention a very notable research study called the China Study. This was conducted in part by Dr. T. Colin Campbell, a nutritional biochemist from Cornell University. It is the largest, most comprehensive study of diet, health, and disease in history. Dr. Campbell served on the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Nutrition and Human Needs. His study explored the relationship between cancer and animal protein. The protein that most consistently and strongly promotes cancer was casein, the one I mentioned earlier, the main protein in dairy, which makes up 87% of the cow's milk protein. His study found that not all protein promoted cancer. The safe proteins were derived from plants, including wheat and soy. His laboratory work proved that cancerous tumors could be activated or turned off depending on the amount of casein in the diet. This particular study or series of studies was on rats. 5% casein in the diet led to markedly decreased tumor growth. 20% casein led to rapid, dramatic tumor growth, promoting all stages of the cancer process. In China, as blood cholesterol levels decreased from 170 milligrams per deciliter down to just 90 milligrams per deciliter, cancers of the liver, rectum, colon, lung, breast, leukemia, brain cancer, stomach cancer, and cancer of the esophagus decreased. So high cholesterol is linked not just to heart disease, but also to cancer. In this China project research study, which really went on for many, many years, people who ate the most animal-based foods had the most chronic disease. Even relatively small amounts of animal-based foods were associated with adverse effects. People who ate the most plant-based foods were the healthiest and tended to avoid chronic diseases. Evidence links higher intake of dairy products to prostate and ovarian cancers and several other cancers. This IGF-1 that we referred to earlier, this growth hormone, is linked prominently to a predisposition to cancer. Milk products appear to raise levels more than other animal products. 10 different observational studies have confirmed a positive correlation between milk and heightened IGF-1 levels. Prostate cancer seems to be particularly sensitive to IGF-1 levels, and its incidence increases sharply in countries that have high consumption of dairy and meat. In the Physicians' Health Study, 21,660 men were tracked for 28 years. Those who had one serving of milk a day had double the risk of dying from prostate cancer compared with men who rarely drank milk. So the link between IGF-1 and cancer is a big story. Dieters have jumped on the high-protein bandwagon, thinking they are aiding their health by eating dairy, egg whites, fish, and lean meats. In fact, this thinking may be fueling an epidemic of cancer. So here we have some details about dairy products that are very, very important and enduring, and the research is consistent. And so in our Wellness Warriors group that meets every Friday, we are now having a series about cancer, and one of the topics we are going to be talking about is this IGF-1 link and the onset of many types of cancer. We thank you very much for being with us today, and we ask that you would stay in touch with us on Facebook. The name is William Zoller, and take a look at our website at mywellnesswarriors.com. Thank you for being with us.